the night was silent, too silent. His body felt heavy, almost floating, as if he was half dreaming and half awake. He blinked slowly and realized he was lying on the sofa in his family's living room. "Huh," he muttered under his breath, looking around. Everything was exactly as he remembered: the faded curtains, the soft hum of the refrigerator in the next room. But something was off. The air was heavier, warmer. And then he felt it. A scent. Thick, rich, unmistakable alpha pheromones. His breath hitched. The presence was overwhelming, filling the room, wrapping around his senses until his heartbeat started to race uncontrollably. It wasn't just in the air, it was inside his chest, deep in his veins. What is this?" he whispered, clutching the edge of the sofa. Footsteps echoed softly across the floor. Slow, steady, deliberate. And then, from the corner of his eye, he saw a figure approaching. Tall. Confident. Dangerous. The man stopped a few feet away and tilted his head slightly. "So, you're awake." His voice was deep, calm and composed, yet there was something predatory hiding underneath. Their eyes met, and in that single glance, the room seemed to shrink around them. "You," he whispered, taking a small step back instinctively. "Why are you here?" The alpha's lips curved into a faint smile. "You really don't remember?" He took another step closer. The scent grew stronger. His knees felt weak. "Stay away," he said softly, though even he could hear how unconvincing he sounded. "Stay away?" The alpha's gaze softened, but his steps didn't stop. "Then why are you trembling?" He opened his mouth to reply, but no words came out. His chest was too tight, his pulse too loud. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was something far more complicated, something his body remembered even if his mind refused to. The alpha was close now, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating off him. His scent clung to his skin like invisible hands, pulling him closer with every breath. "See," the alpha whispered, his voice low and dangerous. "Your body remembers me." "Shut up," he muttered weakly, his cheeks burning. "Tell me to leave," the alpha said. "And I will." But he didn't. His lips parted, but no words escaped. He hated himself for it, for the way his chest tightened, for the way his hands refused to push the man away. Instead, he stood there, frozen, trapped between fear and longing, hatred and desire. And for a moment, neither of them moved, the silence filled with everything they weren't saying. His heartbeat was loud, too loud, as he stared up at the man standing in front of him. It had been years, yet that familiar gaze still had the same effect. Calm, unreadable, and terrifyingly close. "Why now?" he whispered, trying to sound stronger than he felt. "Why are you here after everything?" The alpha's eyes softened for the briefest moment. "Because I never stopped thinking about you." His breath caught. Those words, simple as they were, struck deeper than they should have. "Don't lie," he said, turning his head away. "You walked away without looking back. You made it clear we were over." "I left," the man said quietly, "because I thought it was what you wanted." He flinched. That was the part he hated most, the truth. Because deep down, he had wanted space. He'd wanted to forget, to erase the ache this man left behind. But time had betrayed him. The memories didn't fade. They clung tighter. The alpha took a careful step forward. "I shouldn't have come back. But when I heard you were here, I couldn't stay away." "Then leave," he said quickly, though his voice trembled. "Just go." "I would," the alpha murmured, leaning closer until their eyes locked again. "If I believed you actually wanted me to." His chest tightened. "I do." "Then say it without shaking." Silence. Only their breathing filled the room. He wanted to speak, to demand distance, but every part of him was betraying those words. The warmth spreading through his body, the way his knees weakened under the weight of the alpha's presence, none of it felt like hate. The man moved even closer now, slow enough to give him a chance to step back, but he didn't. He couldn't. Their faces were only inches apart. He could feel his breath, steady and warm, brushing against his lips. Do you hate me that much? The alpha whispered. I don't know. Then why are you trembling? He swallowed hard, clenching his fists at his sides. Because you still make me feel like this, and I hate it. The alpha's eyes softened. Then feel it. Just for now. You don't have to forgive me. You don't have to say anything. Just feel. His chest rose and fell faster, heart beating wildly. He knew he should pull away, should run, but his body refused to listen. Every instinct screamed at him that this was dangerous, that it would only end in heartbreak again. And yet, part of him didn't care. The man's hand moved, slow, deliberate, reaching up to touch his cheek. The warmth of his palm against his skin sent a shiver down his spine. It was such a small gesture, but it carried years of memories, unspoken apologies, and feelings he'd never truly buried. Do you still think about me? The alpha asked softly. His lips parted. Every day. The silence that followed was heavier than any word. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was the truth, and in that moment, it was enough. Then let me stay, the alpha whispered. Just for tonight. He didn't answer. Instead, his eyes fell shut as the distance between them vanished completely. The familiar warmth enveloped him, dangerous, comforting, impossible to resist. It wasn't a promise. It wasn't a reunion. But it was real. And for the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to stop running. The air between them shifted, heavier, warmer, as if the world outside had faded away, leaving only the two of them standing there. Neither spoke for a long moment. Words felt too fragile for something like this. Finally, he broke the silence. Do you really think it's that easy? That you can walk back into my life and everything will just be fine? No, the alpha replied softly. I don't expect it to be easy. I just want a chance to make things right. He laughed bitterly under his breath. A chance. You had one. You had so many. And every time, you left. I left because I thought I was protecting you, the alpha said. I thought staying away would hurt you less than staying in breaking you. And how did that work out? His voice cracked. Because I was still broken. Just, alone. The alpha stepped closer again, slowly, as if approaching a frightened animal. I know. And I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough, he whispered, his chest tight. Not this time. I know, the alpha repeated. But it's all I have right now. Their eyes met again, and for the first time, he saw something there he hadn't noticed before: guilt, regret, desperation. It wasn't the confident, untouchable alpha he remembered. It was someone who looked just as lost as he felt. I don't even know who we are anymore, he admitted quietly. We're strangers. Everything's different now. Not everything, the alpha said gently. Some things never changed. Like what? Like the way I feel about you. His heart skipped a beat just once, but enough to make him swallow hard. Stop saying things like that. Why? The alpha asked, his voice calm but firm. Because it's true? Because it hurts. Then let it hurt, he whispered. If that's what it takes to remind you that we were real, that this was real. Silence stretched again, heavier this time. His eyes dropped to the floor, but the alpha didn't move. He simply stood there waiting. Always waiting. Do you remember the night we met? The alpha asked softly. You were wearing that ridiculous oversized coat. You spilled coffee all over yourself. Despite himself, he let out a small, shaky laugh. I hated that coat. I loved it, the alpha said. Because you looked so human. So imperfect. And you were so angry at me for laughing. You did laugh. And I've been laughing ever since, the alpha said, smiling faintly. Because somehow, every memory I have of you makes me feel alive. His chest tightened again, that ache returning stronger than before. Stop it. Please. Why? Because I don't want to remember how much I loved you. The alpha's expression softened. And yet, you still do. He hated how right those words felt. He hated how much power they still had over him, how much power he still had. And most of all, he hated that even now, after everything, part of him still wanted to believe in those words. "Do you ever think," the Alpha murmured, stepping just a little closer, "that maybe this isn't over?" "Don't," he whispered, shaking his head. "Don't give me hope." "I'm not giving you hope," the Alpha said. "I'm giving you a choice." Their eyes locked, two storms colliding. And for the first time in a long time, neither of them ran. He turned away, pacing toward the window as rain streaked softly down the glass. The city lights blurred beyond the water, and for a moment, he focused on them just to keep himself grounded. "I hate that you still have this effect on me," he said quietly. "After everything you did, after everything that happened, one word from you and I'm right back where I started." The Alpha stayed silent for a moment before speaking. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did," he snapped, his voice trembling. "You shattered everything. You walked out when I needed you most. And now you're standing here acting like it's something we can fix with a few words." "I don't expect forgiveness," the Alpha said, his tone calm but sincere. "I just don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have done better." "Better?" He laughed bitterly. "You think there's a version of this where we end up happy?" "Because I don't." "Maybe not," the Alpha admitted. "But I think there's a version where we stop pretending we don't still care." He froze. The words lingered in the air like smoke, impossible to ignore. And no matter how hard he tried to deny it, part of him knew they were true. "Do you care?" the Alpha asked softly. "Even a little?" He closed his eyes, clenching his fists at his sides. "I wish I didn't." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." The Alpha sighed and took a small step closer. "I can live with anger. I can live with resentment. But I can't live with pretending that none of it mattered." "Then don't," he said sharply. "Don't pretend. Just leave." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because leaving once was the biggest mistake of my life." His heart stuttered painfully in his chest. "And what makes you think I'd let you stay this time?" "Because deep down," the Alpha said, voice low and steady, "you don't want me to go." The room fell silent again. Only the rain filled the space between them, each drop tapping gently against the glass. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for what he would say next. "You're wrong," he whispered. "Am I?" "Yes," he said, but the word came out weaker than he intended. "I don't need you anymore." "Then why are you crying?" His breath hitched, and his hand shot up to his cheek before he even realized, fingertips brushing against the warmth of a tear he hadn't felt fall. "Because I hate you," he whispered, voice shaking. "I hate you for leaving. I hate you for coming back. I hate that no matter what I do, I still feel something when I see you." The Alpha's expression softened. "Then hate me. Hate me as much as you want. Just don't push me away because you're scared." "I'm not scared." "Yes, you are," he said gently. "You're terrified of what it means if you stop hating me." He turned his back, gripping the edge of the windowsill as if it were the only thing holding him together. "I don't know if I can do this again." "You don't have to decide now," the Alpha said quietly. "I'm not asking you to." "Then what are you asking?" "For a chance. Just one." The rain outside softened into a drizzle, and the room felt strangely still, as if time had slowed down just for them. His heart pounded in his chest, louder than it had in years. And though every instinct screamed at him to shut the door and end this before it began again, he couldn't. Not yet. The silence between them stretched longer this time. Neither of them moved, neither dared to breathe too loudly. It was as if one wrong word would make the fragile thread holding them together snap completely. Finally, he spoke, barely above a whisper. "What happens if I give you that chance?" The Alpha took a slow breath. "Then I'll do everything I can to earn your trust again." "And if you fail?" "Then at least I'll know I tried, instead of running away again." His chest tightened. That was what hurt most, not the betrayal, not even the loneliness. It was the memory of what they could have been if fear hadn't gotten in the way. He turned slowly, facing the man again. The alpha hadn't moved from where he stood, patient, steady, waiting. It was the same patience that used to drive him crazy and calm him at the same time. "Do you remember what you said the day you left?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. The alpha's gaze softened. "Every word. You told me it was better this way, that I'd be happier without you." "I was wrong," the alpha said quietly. "I thought I was doing what was best for you. I see now that all I did was hurt us both." He bit down on his lip, the words replaying in his head like they were said yesterday. They had broken him back then, words that were supposed to protect him had left him hollow instead. "Do you know what I hated most?" he asked after a long pause. "What?" "That you didn't even fight for us. You just decided it was over and walked away." The alpha took a step closer. "I was a coward." "Yes," he whispered. "You were. And I don't want to be that man anymore." The room felt heavier now, charged with emotions neither could run from. His heart was racing, his mind screaming at him to stay strong, but the way the alpha was looking at him made his walls start to crack. "I don't know if I can trust you again," he admitted. "I don't know if I can believe anything you say." "Then let me prove it," the alpha said. "Not with promises. With actions. And what if I still end up broken?" "Then I'll break with you," he said firmly. "But you won't be alone." The words hit him harder than he expected. For so long, he had been carrying the weight of their past alone. Now, for the first time, the alpha was reaching for part of that weight too. "You always say the right things," he muttered. "It's not fair." "I'm not trying to win you with words," the alpha said. "I'm just trying to show you the truth." "And what truth is that?" "That no matter how much time passes, no matter how far we run, I'll always come back to you." His breath caught. It wasn't a confession, it was a fact, spoken with the certainty of someone who had lived every day believing it. "I hate you," he whispered again, his voice breaking. "I know. And I hate that I still..." He stopped himself before finishing the sentence. The rest of the words burned on his tongue, refusing to come out. The alpha stepped closer until they were only inches apart. "Say it." "I can't." "Then let me." His voice was gentle now, almost pleading. "I still love you. I never stopped." His chest felt too tight, his heartbeat too fast. He wanted to push him away, scream, deny everything, but the truth was already there, written in the way his hands trembled, in the way his body leaned forward even as his mind told him to step back. The alpha's hand reached out again, hesitant but sure, brushing against his cheek. The warmth of that simple touch was enough to bring memories flooding back, the nights they'd stayed up talking until dawn, the way their hands had fit together so easily, the laughter, the tears, all of it. And before he realized it, he was no longer pulling away. His breathing grew uneven as he felt the warmth of that touch linger on his skin. It was familiar, painfully familiar, like a memory his heart had never forgotten. Every nerve in his body seemed to remember the way this man had once held him, once loved him, once promised him a forever that never came. "Why are you doing this?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "Because walking away was the worst mistake of my life," the alpha replied softly. "And because even if you hate me, I still want to be where you are." He swallowed hard, trying to hold on to the anger that had protected him all this time, but it was slipping through his fingers. "You don't get to just show up and say things like that." "I know," the alpha said. "But I couldn't stay away anymore." "You left me with nothing," he said bitterly. "You disappeared and expected me to be okay. I never expected you to be okay. I hoped you would be. But I wasn't." "Then why didn't you come back sooner?" "Because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Afraid that you'd moved on. Afraid you'd hate me too much to even look at me." He let out a shaky laugh, though there was no humor in it. "I did hate you. I told myself I'd never forgive you. But the truth is, I kept waiting. Even when I told myself I wasn't, I was still waiting." The alpha's eyes softened. Then let me stay now. Just this once. If after tonight you still want me gone, I'll go. His chest tightened. Part of him wanted to slam the door shut, to end this here before it spiraled any deeper. But another part, the part that still ached when he heard this voice, wanted to know if there was something worth salvaging. What if I let you stay and regret it? He asked quietly. Then I'll carry that regret alone, the alpha said. You don't have to. He closed his eyes, the weight of everything pressing down on him. All the memories, the anger, the longing, it all felt like too much. But when he opened them again, the alpha was still standing there, patient and steady, just like he always had been. Fine, he murmured. Stay. A small breath of relief escaped the alpha's lips, and he took a cautious step forward, close enough that their shoulders almost brushed. Thank you. Don't thank me. This doesn't mean anything. Maybe not, he said. But it means I still have a chance to show you I've changed. They stood there in silence, inches apart, the air thick with emotions neither could name. And though he told himself it was a mistake, he didn't step away. Instead, he let the warmth of the moment settle over them, dangerous, uncertain, but real. Time seemed to slow. The world beyond the walls of the apartment faded into a distant hum. And in that suspended moment, the years they had spent apart didn't matter. It was just the two of them, two hearts still beating for something neither could fully let go of. He sighed quietly. I don't know what's going to happen. Neither do I, the alpha admitted. But I want to find out if you'll let me. His lips parted as if to respond, but no words came. Instead, he looked up at him, truly looked at him, and for the first time, he saw something different. The man standing before him wasn't the same one who had walked away. This man was older, quieter, more broken, but also more sincere. Maybe people didn't change completely. But maybe, just maybe, they learned how to love differently. The silence that followed was heavier than either of them expected. It wasn't the uncomfortable kind, it was the weight of everything they hadn't said over the years, finally pressing down on them all at once. He turned away first, walking slowly toward the window again. The rain had stopped, but the streets still shimmered under the glow of the city lights. Everything outside was moving, cars, people, the world, yet in here, time felt like it had frozen. Do you ever think we could go back? He asked quietly, not turning around. The alpha's voice was low. Back to what? To before everything fell apart. Before the fights, before the silence. Before we ruined it. There was a long pause before the alpha answered. No. I don't think we can go back. His chest ached at the honesty. Then what are we even doing? We can't go back, the alpha continued, taking a step closer, but maybe we can build something new. Something better. He let out a shaky breath. And what if it doesn't work? What if we hurt each other again? Then we try again, the alpha said. And again. And again. Until we figure it out, or until we know for sure it's impossible. He turned then, meeting the alpha's eyes. They were steady, unwavering, just like they had been the first day they met. There was no promise of a perfect ending there, only the promise of effort, of trying. And somehow, that felt more real than anything else. You make it sound so simple, he murmured. It's not simple, the alpha replied, a faint smile touching his lips. But it's worth it. His heart thudded painfully against his ribs. He hated how much he wanted to believe those words, how much part of him already did. What if I can't love you the way I did before? Then love me however you can now, the alpha said. I don't want the past. I want this. His breath caught again. That word, this, carried so much weight. It meant flaws, and scars, and second chances. It meant something imperfect but still worth fighting for. The alpha moved closer, slow enough for him to pull away if he wanted to. But he didn't. Their eyes stayed locked as the space between them disappeared, until they were standing close enough to feel each other's warmth. You're trembling, the alpha whispered. I know. Why? Because I don't know if I'm ready for this. Then let me wait until you are. He felt the words more than he heard them. They weren't a demand or a plea, they were a promise. The kind of promise he had been too afraid to believe in before. His chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. Everything in him screamed that this was dangerous, that opening himself up again could destroy him. But another voice, quieter, deeper, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was the only way to truly heal. I don't know where this will go, he admitted softly. Neither do I, the Alpha said, smiling gently. But I know where I want to start. And where's that? Here. With you. He felt his heart tighten at those words, a slow warmth spreading through him that he hadn't felt in so long. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a reunion. It was something in between, fragile, uncertain, but real. And for now, that was enough. He didn't move for a long time. Neither of them did. The weight of the moment seemed to press down on them both, heavy, suffocating, but not unbearable. It was the kind of silence that carried meaning, the kind that said more than words ever could. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. What if I ruin this again? Then we ruin it together, the Alpha replied softly. And we learn from it this time. His eyes softened, a tired, bittersweet smile pulling at his lips. You make everything sound so easy. It's not, the Alpha admitted. But some things are worth the struggle. He looked up at him then, studying his face in the dim light. He looked different now, older, more fragile, more human. But his eyes, they were the same. Those eyes that had once held his entire world still had the same warmth, the same pull. Do you still believe in us? He asked quietly. I never stopped, the Alpha answered without hesitation. The simplicity of the reply made his chest ache. There was no hesitation, no doubt, just certainty. And that scared him more than anything else. What if I can't give you what you want? Then give me what you can, the Alpha said. I don't need perfect. I just need you. His breath caught, and he turned his gaze to the floor. You're an idiot. I know. And stubborn. Very. And you don't know when to give up. That's true. Despite himself, a small, broken laugh slipped from his lips. I hate that about you. The Alpha's expression softened. Then hate me while I stay by your side. Something inside him shifted then, small, subtle, but impossible to ignore. The anger that had burned for so long seemed to dull, replaced by something heavier but gentler. Maybe it wasn't forgiveness. Maybe it wasn't even acceptance. But it was something. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, he admitted. I don't even know if we'll make it a week without falling apart. Then we'll face tomorrow when it comes, the Alpha said. And the next day. And the one after that. Step by step? Step by step. The room felt different now, not lighter, but steadier. Like they had finally taken the first step out of the storm. He reached out before he could stop himself, fingers brushing against the Alpha's hand. It was a small gesture, almost insignificant, but it was the closest thing to an answer he could give. The Alpha didn't say anything. He just intertwined their fingers gently, holding his hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. For the first time in what felt like forever, he didn't pull away. The night stretched on quietly, the city lights outside flickering like distant stars. Neither of them spoke for a while, they didn't need to. The silence wasn't heavy anymore, it felt gentle. Familiar. Like a blanket wrapped around the two of them, fragile but comforting. He sat on the edge of the sofa, staring down at their still intertwined hands. It was strange. That simple touch, something he used to take for granted, now felt like the most terrifying and precious thing in the world. Do you ever wish we'd never met? He asked suddenly, voice soft. The Alpha looked at him in surprise. No. Not once. Even after everything? Especially after everything. A small smile touched his lips. Meeting you was the best and worst thing that's ever happened to me. And I'd still choose it again. His heart twisted painfully. I don't know if I could. You don't have to, the Alpha said. You just have to be here now. There was no pressure in his tone, no demand, just a quiet, steady sincerity. It was disarming. For the first time, it didn't feel like the alpha was trying to win him back. It felt like he was simply asking for the chance to stand by his side again. "Can I be honest?" he whispered. "Always. I'm scared. Of me? Of us. Of wanting this again. Of letting myself believe it could work." The alpha's gaze softened, and he gently cupped the side of his face. "It's okay to be scared. I am too." Their eyes locked, and the distance between them seemed to shrink without either of them moving. Slowly, carefully, he leaned forward until his forehead rested against the alpha's chest. The steady rhythm of his heartbeat echoed in his ear, grounding him more than words ever could. "I hate that I still feel safe with you," he murmured. "I'm glad you do," the alpha replied, wrapping his arms around him in a loose, careful embrace. "Because I'll never stop wanting to protect you." They stayed like that for a while, no words, no promises, just warmth and breath and the faint sound of the rain beginning again outside. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't even reconciliation. But it was something. Eventually, he pulled back slightly, eyes searching the alpha's face. "What happens now?" "Now," the alpha said softly, "we start over. Slowly. One step at a time. And if we fall apart again? Then we pick up the pieces together." Something inside him cracked open at those words, the final, stubborn piece of his heart he had been guarding all this time. It wasn't that everything was suddenly fixed. It wasn't that all the hurt had vanished. But maybe, just maybe, it didn't have to be perfect for it to be real. He took a deep breath. "Okay." The alpha blinked, almost disbelieving. "Okay?" "Okay," he repeated, a tiny smile tugging at his lips. "One step at a time." The alpha's answering smile was soft, almost relieved. "I can work with that." As the night deepened, the space between them grew smaller and smaller. Words gave way to gentle touches, a hand brushing against a cheek, a hesitant kiss pressed to a temple, a breathless laugh breaking the tension that had once felt unbreakable. The closeness felt natural, inevitable, as if their bodies remembered a language their minds had long forgotten. And when they finally closed the distance fully, it wasn't desperate or rushed. It was slow, careful, filled with unspoken apologies and rediscovered tenderness. It was the kind of closeness that spoke louder than words. "I missed you. I still care. I still choose you." The night passed quietly around them. The city hummed beyond the window, indifferent to the small miracle happening in that room, two broken hearts, trying to learn how to beat together again. When morning light finally slipped through the curtains, he stirred awake to the warmth of an arm draped gently around his waist. For a moment, confusion flickered in his sleepy thoughts, then memory washed over him, soft and overwhelming. It wasn't a dream. He turned slightly, watching the alpha still asleep beside him. The man looked peaceful, almost vulnerable, and for the first time in a long while, so did he. There was no certainty about the future, no promises that they wouldn't fall apart again. But there was something far more precious than certainty, the possibility of trying. He whispered into the quiet room, words too soft for the sleeping man to hear. "Maybe this time, we'll get it right." And deep down, he knew, no matter what came next, that this was the beginning of something new. Not a perfect love story. Not a repeat of the past. But something real, fragile, and worth holding on to.